as you grow, and I don't care about what you do in life, in business or investing or relationships, you got to constantly keep pushing that boundary of comfort in order to learn how to back yourself and be comfortable being uncomfortable. It goes back to what I was talking about earlier.
Welcome to the Bulletproof Cashflow podcast. Let's get into the show.
Hey everyone, this is Agostino. Making the leap from duplexes to smaller deals to multifamily communities can be a daunting task. However, it is indeed doable and has been done countless of times before. Sometimes it just takes a leap of faith and an unwavering belief in yourself, along with the right commitment to personal development. Well, today's guest understands this. He quit his job in Australia and moved halfway across the globe to the United States to change his life and to chase a dream. With limited funds and no investing experience and no credit, he went from purchasing a small duplex to growing his own multi-million dollar real estate investing firm. Now, today, as the co-founder of Wildhorn Capital, he syndicates large multi-million dollar deals across the US. Aside from his successful investing podcast, Investing in the US, he's also a best-selling author with 2 books, Investing in the US and 10,000 Miles to the American Dream. With all that, I'd like to welcome my good friend, Reed Goossens, to the show. Hey, Reed, thanks for coming on, man.
G'day, mate. Well, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Now, if you like what Reed has to say, you can reach him through his website at wildhorncap.com. And if you like our content, please don't forget to leave a comment, rate the show. It helps so tremendously when you do. Finally, if you text the word freedom to 202-410-4202, you'll get our free ebook, The Bulletproof Guide to Finding a Broker. Okay, Reed, go ahead and tell the listeners a little bit more about your background and what you're doing these days.
Sure. Yeah. So moved to the United States in 2012 and moved here to really be a structural engineer. Actually, that's what's my background is in. Moved here to chase a dream and to chase a girl, and that turned into now 8 years later. You mentioned I'm the co-founder of Wildhorn Capital. I have my podcast, got a couple of books. We've got everything about $250 million under management at Wildhorn Capital. And, I've been able to achieve financial freedom along the way. And my whole shtick isn't here to boast and beat my own chest. It's more to show you that if someone from Australia, which is over 10,000 miles away, halfway across the world, can move here with literally limited investing experience and can give it a crack, as I like to say, give it a go, then so can the average American. And that's really what I'm here to do, is inspire through my story and maybe give you some little bits and nuggets of advice to get off the fence and start taking action. Because you mentioned it before, it's all about pushing yourself and trying to be better every single day and push the boundaries and push the envelope and stop worrying about what's on the other side of that envelope or the other side of that door, because that's what we get so caught up in, is the fear of that it won't work out. But at the end of the day, you need to give it a go. And I'm here to show you that it can be done. And I had visa issues, I had girlfriend issues, I had to get married here, I had job issues. I had to be in this country. I couldn't just start my company. I needed to keep the roof over my head and bills paid. So all that type of stuff is probably very common to the people listening to this show. But I'm here to tell you like a little bit about how I did it and how you can start pushing that envelope every single day and get comfortable being uncomfortable.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest things is that first you have to really get used to the fact of being comfortable in the uncomfortable, because I think that's one of the things is that if someone's considering buying their first duplex or a fourplex, even it could be a very daunting task. It's scary for some people that have never done it before.
100%. No, it is. And it was scary for me. Like, think about the most scared I was coming to this country was in the fact that stepping on that plane. I remember being at the airport. I was going to go. I'm leaving the country. I'm coming to America to move to New York City to live in the Big Apple as an expat. And I was chasing my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. Luckily, it's all worked out well. So, spoiler alert. But the fact was, it was really daunting. Saying I'm leaving my comfort zone. I'm leaving this family here, where I've grown up, where I went to university, where I've already had a career as an engineer, and I'm going to just chase a dream. And the thing that really drove me is much of all that fear and uncertainty was the fact that I didn't want to have regret, right? I didn't want to wake up when I was 70 years of age and go, geez, I wish I'd moved to the United States back in 2012. Now looking back on it, I had no idea I'd be sitting here 8 years later talking to you about, success and multifamily and podcasts and branding and books. But the fact was I took that first step. And that first step led to so many more other doors opening. And I always got really comfortable backing myself. And in life, that's what we got to get used to, is backing yourself. And so many people don't take the bet on themselves, right? They don't think they're worthy enough. They don't give themselves permission enough to say, I can go out and do this. And it's all about mindset. And that's what it is. And that's, again, my story is only about, not to boast, but to try and inspire other people that it is literally about opening the door and putting one foot in front of the other. Stop worrying about what's going to happen, from a negative point of view, and just start worrying about what is going to happen. And that when you look back on this in 20 years' time, you're going to say, geez, I'm really glad I made that decision to buy a house or get involved in real estate investing, or start betting on myself, or, quit that day job that I freaking hate and to chase a dream. So yeah.
It's funny because I was working as a corporate executive 16, 17 years ago at this point. And I remember when I bought my first duplex, and back then it was the height of the market. It was super expensive. Oh my God. It was nuts how much I paid for a duplex. I think it was over $400,000 for a duplex. Ridiculous. I would never do that again. And, but I remember like I was in a vacant unit, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? What did I do this for? This is ridiculous. I'll never find anybody to rent. The next thing you know, I get a phone call and someone rents the place, and it's a little scary at first. That's why we talking about big deals is where it's at. The small deals is fine if you really want to get into a deal. For those of you guys listening out there, I guess it's okay. I tell my students anyway, go for the big deals. They're way easier to do. I'm in the middle of buying a $4 million deal right now. I'm not even worried about it. It's very easy.
No, look, yes, I definitely agree with some of the sentiments you're saying there, but I'll push back a little bit on the fact that when you're trying to get that mental between the ears, I should say, ability to know that what you're worth and that you can do it, doing those smaller deals, like you're sitting in that apartment that one time, $400,000 duplex, going, what the hell am I going to do? You did it on your own by yourself, right? You didn't have anyone else to show you the way. And it proved to you that you could do this, right? And so that's one. You're already at your barrier there. You're sitting there going, "Oh gosh, what the hell have I done?" But all of a sudden, you're like, "Oh, I just did this by myself. I can now push to a 50 unit, or whatever that next iteration is." But you were able to prove yourself that you could do it, and that's a massive win, right? And that's what so many people, as you grow, and I don't care about what you do in life, in business or investing or relationships, you got to constantly keep pushing that boundary of comfort in order to learn how to back yourself and be comfortable being uncomfortable. It goes back to what I was talking about earlier. So kudos to you, man, for taking the crack and getting going. because the other thing, right, is that you don't get to deal number 10 without doing that first deal. Right. And my first deal was a $38,000 triplex in upstate New York. And I figured out Section 8 housing and all that sort of stuff. Like, it was crazy. But what it proved to me, I didn't make a home run off that deal, but I got my foot in the door and I proved to myself that I could do it. And they are the two most important things that you can have within your gut when you approach investors saying, have you done this before? I say, yeah, I have actually bought this deal just down the road, or I've done this other deal before and I did it by myself. So, yeah.
That's right. So now, for someone that is maybe just starting out, right? What sort of steps would you give them? What sort of guidance would you give to that person who's thinking about, okay, well, I got to get into this duplex. Fine, I'll do it. I'm going to listen to Reed. I'm going to go ahead and take his advice. All right. What do you suggest they do? Like, what's a good starting off point for them?
Look, for me, it was, I can only talk about what is good worked for me. And for me, it was, I got to the point where I had analysis paralysis. So I had definitely invested a lot of time in self-education. That's the first point. Self-education is really, really important. And you will know when you got to the point of analysis paralysis, when you're at that point where you can't read any more books or you can't listen to any more podcasts, but you actually got to go out and execute. And I talk about a lot on different shows, like the idea of losing weight, right? Like, you don't read about losing weight. You got to open the gym door and get on the treadmill. It's the same thing with real estate. You do have to start with education. You got to be really, really focused on that. And you also have to start with surrounding yourself with people you aspire to be. Those two things are the most important things. And say, as cliche as they are, I constantly look at them today, and I still do them day in, day out. I constantly still learn. I constantly try to surround myself with people I aspire to be. Just my bar has just gotten higher. But that's what anyone can do, right? And it's easy to do it. It's easy. There's so much information out there on the internet. There's so many different meetup events online, virtually, that you can do from the comfort of your home now that we're in COVID. But the other thing is getting to that point where you feel confident enough to go and take action. And little action every single day is important. So picking up the phone and talking to a broker. I don't care what broker it is. You just get used to talking to brokers. And that is enough to start saying, well, hey, can you start sending me some deals? And the second thing, which isn't sexy, but is underwriting deals. And I'm talking not just one or two deals. I'm talking about 50 to 100 deals in the market that you've chosen. Doing it, doing it, doing it, creating a data sheet of what deals you've underwritten, and you start to understand the market. And what you're doing is a desktop study of your local market to determine where's the best area to invest in. You start doing those little things, and all of a sudden a deal will pop up because you're being disciplined in terms of your underwriting. First and foremost, you're surrounding yourself with people you aspire to be. You're talking to brokers consistently, and you're going to meet up events and continuing to get your education. All those things, you do that. I bet you do that for a period of 6 to 12 months, you'll have a deal under contract in no time. So if people
You know
just
what?
don't, sorry, one more thing. People just they don't like to do the work. They don't like to put in the work, and they think it's going to happen overnight. And the fact is, anything that's worth building will take time. And if you have the wrong mindset on the front end, thinking that you're going to get to financial freedom in 6 months, there's some freaks out there that can do it. But the majority of us, it took me over 8 years. By the time I picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad, by the time I could leave my corporate job here in America, it was over 8 years. That same mindset you need to have when you go into this business is that it will take time, and that's okay. And so, because if you go in thinking I'm going to get this done in 6 months, and you get to the end of 6 months, you go, oh, it hasn't worked, or the likelihood of you giving up is a lot higher than if you said, oh, it's going to take me 5 or 6 or 10 years to get to where I want to get to. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's many gurus out there that I'm sure we know of that make it sound like you just have to go to one boot camp over a weekend. The next thing you know, you're going to be a millionaire on Monday. So
Oh,
you just
geez.
you just buy
Run for
my
the
course,
hills.
right?
Run for the hills, man. Run for the hills.
Right. I mean, we do coaching and we have a course and all that stuff. I can't promise you're going to become a billionaire in 1 year, let alone 8.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. It takes a great deal of effort and work, and sometimes it takes a mistake or two.
Oh, 100%. It takes a
You know,
mistake and discipline, right? It's discipline, consistency, and work. And that first deal I bought for $38,000 all cash, triplex, I had to drive by shooting at it, within its first 6 months of owning it. Like I was a fresh-faced, bushy-eyed tail Australian who had no idea what Section 8 housing was or the ghetto, right? But I learnt. And I wouldn't have learnt it by continually reading a book. I need to get in the deep end. And for me, I'd already made the jump to move to America. I'd already done that. Done. Already got the job. I remember pounding the streets of New York City to find an engineering job. I already got the relationship working. I now needed to push myself and get my investment going. And that for me was I'd rather have spent that money in a deal that failed because it was my money. And it goes back to doing a smaller deal first so you can test the waters. For me, in my personal experience, it was my money, my neck, my skin on the line, no one else's. And I was willing to risk it because I'd got to that point that I'd got analysis paralysis and I'd educated myself over a period of 2.5, 3 years. And I said, I need to go and start taking action. And that's exactly what I did. So,
right,
yeah.
right. But I think what it also did in that first deal, it maybe it didn't go so well, but it also opened up doors to get into other deals as well.
Boom.
Because now,
Exactly.
when you're talking to other brokers, do you have any deals? Yes, I do. I have a deal over here. Here's where it is. And they don't ask you about. Maybe they might ask you about how many units. Usually, they just say, how much multifamily do you have, or have you ever bought any multifamily?
Right.
And usually that's enough,
Well,
right?
it's also to do with those small incremental steps forward of like, okay, I've just done this duplex, and I've just started talking to brokers and people in a market, and that again, it's that mindset and that inner ability to prove yourself you can do it. That okay, now I need to start talking to brokers on the commercial side. Maybe I can start looking at 10 units, right? 20 units. That's a step up, right? That's already a step up from a duplex, but you've just gone through the same process you will do on finding a duplex or a single family or a triplex. You'll do the same with the bigger stuff. So it's sort of like having your training wheels on the small stuff to then go and do it on the big stuff. And it's literally the same thing. It's just bigger deals, and there's got a couple extra zeros on the end of it. And that's what everyone gets scared of, right? The bigger the money, like, oh gosh, I can't do it. So yeah,
It's
mindset.
Yeah, it's so funny because there's actually a very large deal that I just underwrote. Just I went to go walk it yesterday. It's 1,000 units. There's a
Oof.
thousand units. I went to go look at it, and it's a mess. It really is. It needs a lot of work. And I look at it, I'm looking at the cost per door, look at the amount of renovations, all that stuff. They're just zeros, man. It doesn't matter. That's a $30 million asset plus another 10 million in renovation, or it could have been a $30,000 duplex
Right.
with 10,000 renovation.
Yep. Exactly.
They're
And
just
that's
they're
and
just
that,
zeros.
and that's the same thing. And at the end of the day, there'll be slightly different complexities to underwriting the two different deals, but you got to, what you just said before is like you boil it down to the bare bones. What am I picking up for? What do I need to what I need to spend on it, and what am I going to grow it over a period of 3 or 5 years, and what I'm going to exit at, and is that exit price per door in line with what my expectation is in the market or the local comps today? And if you can get happy with all of that, the old saying, "You make money when you buy, not when you sell," that goes down to you can apply that to duplex as a single family. You can also apply it to 1,000 units.
Yep. That's right. That's right. That's right. So now what advice would you have for someone then just getting into this thing then? So they're kind of on the fence. They don't know what to do, right?
Sure, sure.
So so
The advice would be very simple advice is a fool and their money are easily parted. And my dad gave me that advice many, many years ago. And what it means is don't be a fool when it comes to your money and learn to invest in self-education. And that's I am yourself, Augustine. You are worth betting on, right? And so going out and I challenge people because it's very easy these days to find 3 networking events that you want to go to three a month for the next 6 months. You can do it all online because it's all virtual these days. And I bet you'll start to meet people. That doesn't cost you anything, right? Going to a virtual meetup event costs you nothing, costs you a little bit of your time. But you start to hear people and be surrounded by people you aspire to be. And just by doing that, will automatically give you the permission to say, I'm now worthy of taking that next step. And maybe I need to get a mentor, or maybe I need to start talking to brokers. But I bet you at the end of that 6 months, and don't go to 3 different ones a month, go to the same 3 month in, month out. So you start to get known in your little community of the meetup, and you can start to see who is really worth following. And from that, you'll be able to say, okay, I want to aspire to be, that person over there. And you can approach that person. Hey, can I maybe get a bit of advice of you? Any more advice in terms of what books I need to read, in terms of who I need to reach out to? And it's all about those small incremental steps. And that's what you can do today, which costs you literally $0 to do any of that.
that's right. That's right. I love it. I love it. And that's the thing though too is actually applying yourself and setting yourself up with the challenge,
Right.
right? So and there's tons of these events online right now. I mean, once things lift here, hopefully by the end of the year, people actually be able to go to real events and actually
Right.
press the flesh and go talk to people in person. But I guess another great piece of advice here would also be, sure, go ahead and go to the meetups. Start studying today. Don't wait.
Mm-hmm.
And know the lingo, know the language of
Yep.
real estate, know what you're going to have to say, because the last thing you want to do is go to someone who you maybe you admire them from afar, maybe because they have 500 units or whatever. But the last thing you want to do is walk up to that person and sound like an idiot because you don't know because you can't spell NOI, right? It,
Yeah, and that's right. You got to invest in your financial freedom. But listening to this show, you're already taking one step, right? Reading some great books out there that are all about understanding the nuts and bolts of underwriting very basic real estate, and increasing that financial IQ and looking at a P&L. That's really important to continue to doing in parallel to going to these networking events online. So thus what you just said, you can then walk up to someone and say, hey, boom, I aspire to be like you. I looked at a deal the other day. It has an NOI of X. I know the market cap rate's this. I think it's worth X. So you can be able to start talking that lingo really effectively and efficiently to then show people that you are worth what you are worth. You're putting your money where your mouth is, and you know what you're talking about, rather than sound like an idiot, as you said before, and maybe embarrassing yourself.
yeah. But I think something else you just mentioned too is setting yourself up with a challenge as well. So maybe you're going to commit to doing one meetup a week, which is a lot. That's
Right?
for some people that's a lot of time to commit. But it all depends on how bad you want it. I mean,
100%.
I've had students that were fine with, they actually said, I don't want to be rich. I just want to be comfortable. Hey, that's fine with me. If that's all you want, that's cool. But if you want to be like uber wealthy, it's going to take a little more effort than that. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to take a lot more effort than
And
that.
that goes back to what people fail at in life, and it goes from anything from starting a business to losing weight to your relationships. working on yourself, it takes a lot, that 10,000 hours to master a craft, right? I forget what the book it is, but there's a great book out there that talks about 10,000 hours. You're going to need to spend 10,000 hours. And that's the way you got to think about that from a time perspective in order to master your craft of, in this instance, being a real estate investor. So when you start putting into perspective of that type of time frame, well, how long is 10,000 hours going to take you in networking and education and underwriting deals? It's probably going to take you the next 2 or 3 years. But that's okay. And in those 2 or 3 years, you're going to grow, you're going to do deals, you're going to grow as a human, grow as a person, and be able to go out and prove to yourself again that you can do it. But remember, it's the mindset on the front end that is it's all that matters. Because if you think it's going to happen by doing 5 hours a month, then it might take a little bit longer to get to those 10,000 hours than if you did, say, 100 hours a month.
That's right. That's right. So now let's talk a little bit after that triplex, right? So now you did the triplex thing. That's a long, long time ago. Today with Wildhorn, you guys are doing much bigger deals, right?
Correct. Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So how far have you come since you've done that first little triplex, and that you probably regret doing?
Well, no, I don't regret doing it, actually. Because again, people say, what's your what's your best deal? And I said my best deal is my first deal, because I got off the starting blocks, right? I got running. Yeah, there's been some trips,
Yes.
and there's some speed bumps and potholes you got to navigate. But in life, mate, that's what it is, right? And the more we get comfortable with that and know that we know what we're talking about, we understand the risks involved with investing in real estate, because there's going to be risks with everything, that when those stumbling blocks come upon you, you can navigate them easily. And for me, yeah, there was a drive-by shooting, but I got me into deal number 2, which got me into deal number 3, which now I'm at deal 15 or 16. It's again, I didn't get to this point without doing that deal number 1, and that's so important about that.
Yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So what sort of deals are you doing these days?
Yeah, so these days we're focused on, obviously, value add multifamily. That's where we started. We're now pivoting a little bit into we're currently looking at opportunity zone deal, brand new construction. We're going to take over middle of construction in order to get the tax benefits. It's a sort of slightly different look on multifamily, but from the OZ point of view, a lot of gain dollars are wanting to find those types of areas in and around growing MSAs, and we happen to be invested in Austin, Texas, quite heavily, and San Antonio. We're also looking at some other multi-family-esque angles, looking at some small hotel conversions into low-income housing, which we can get tax benefits from. So different ways to, as I say, skin a cat, but still being in the multifamily space, but maybe different elements of, rather than just coming in and value add and putting lipstick on a pig. You're looking at other different ways to add value, whether it's changing the use of a property, increasing the density. We looked at a deal the other day which had an extra 6 acres next to it that we could buy for pennies on the dollar, and we said, well, that makes that deal. I want to pay full price for that deal now, because I know I can go put another 80 units on. I can build another 80 units on the 6 acres next door. Again, thinking about it a little bit differently. My background's in structural engineering and real estate development. I've worked for many, many years prior to starting my own company. So I have that thinking process of how the institutional guys think about when they look at deals and try to think outside the box, right? Not just do what everyone else is doing. So I definitely bring that element to Wildhorn Capital, and we're also focused on becoming more vertically integrated. Looking at potentially bringing property management in house, creating some other revenue streams within the business to make sure that it is really attractive to big private equity firms that want to come and partner with us now. And the other thing we're also trying to focus on doing, and it's a little bit hard with COVID, is we need to start cycling deals. And the biggest question we have these days is, well, you've been in the game for 5, 6, 7 years now. When's your first deal going to cycle? And that's the big thing. We haven't got to a first cycle yet, and we were going to do it this year, but COVID hit and sort of jammed the brakes on that. But we're probably going to kick it off again in 2021. But they're the sort of things we're focused on right now as an organization, as a company, and with the goal to go and double the portfolio in the next 2 to 3 years. We just brought on a new partner who's going to help us shake some few different lemon trees. I always have the analogy that my business partners, they shake the lemon tree and I determine if we make lemonade or lemon juice out of it. And so, yeah, that's really what we're focused on here in the next little while, but also being very cognitive of having a life by design. And, we always joke that we want to sustain growth. We don't ever aspire to be 10, 15, 20,000 units. We're very comfortable at 5 to 6,000 units. And we always joke, if we ever need HR, we're done growing. So just really focusing on that type of stuff and having a good quality of life at the same time. Because for us as a company, we are focused on providing incredible investment opportunities for our investors, but we're also focused and understand that the business is just one element in life, one pillar in life. You got to have your health, you got to have your family, your love, and you got to have all those other things to, in my mind, be successful. And that's really what myself and Andrew Campbell at Wildhorn, we've founded the company on, and that's really our values and our core mission statements. So yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing though too, for anybody listening, all that started with a triplex.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's
right.
That's a beautiful thing. It all started with a triplex.
Yeah, it started with a triplex. And again, not here to boast, here to inspire, because I literally moved to this country with very limited funds and no investing experience whatsoever, but a hunger to push the boundaries and to challenge myself each and every day, so I don't wake up when I'm 70 years of age and go, geez, I wish I'd done that when I was 34.
And I hear you. I came to this country from Canada, a little bit closer, but I mean, hey, listen, my car at the time didn't even have a floor in it; it was all rotted away. I mean, I was putting myself through school, man. It's like it was some bad times, but yeah, that's where I started too. It isn't like I come from any wealthy family or anything else like that. So.
Nope.
Now we're getting ready to buy one of the biggest deals of my life so far. It's going to be over 110 million. So
That's
it's going to
awesome.
be beautiful. Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah. So tell us, maybe if someone's listening right now, all right, what is, you can talk directly to them. Mm-hmm. What is that one thing that you would actually tell them? What is that piece of bulletproof advice that you would give them?
Well, it goes back to a fool and their money, right? Like start being educated. If you're on the fence, start educating yourself about what ignorance isn't an excuse anymore. There's so much available information at your fingertips here in the United States, a lot more than where I came from in Australia. I was blown away when I first moved to New York City for the RIAs, the Real Estate Investment Associations. They're in every single metro MSA across the US. Go find one, sign up, and start learning about what they have to teach. And there's $20-$30 at the door, and it's the best money I ever spent initially. And it got me surrounded by people who then I met, opened up a door for making new relationships. I had a business partner out of one of those meetings, and that just keeps going those incremental steps forward. And you obviously need to do the self-education at home, trying to always be learning something new before you go to bed or sleep at night. So reading books, listening to a podcast, working on meditation, whatever that might be, you're constantly moving that incrementally, you're moving it forward towards your goals.
Excellent. Love it. All right, guys. Well, if you want to reach out to Reed, you can reach him through his website at wildhorncap.com. I hope you got some good insight around what's possible when you actually commit to moving on a deal, and you get from a small deal to a large one, and you can see all the upside that comes along with it. You can get that financial freedom and build the life that you want and you deserve. Okay. So get out there and do it. So take care of yourselves out there, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the Bulletproof Cashflow podcast.